Hello, welcome into the CHGO Bears Podcast presented by PointsBet. Use promo code CHGO when you sign up to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. What's going on, everyone? Adam Hoge, Nicholas Moreano, Will DeWitt. Will's in the dungeon again.
Kind of.
Looks that way. It's very dark and gloomy, very representative of what you guys just walked through to get to this show. We're just happy you're here, quite frankly.
Yeah, we didn't think we were going to make it. Thought we were going to be flying sideways. If we would have ended up by the car, that would have been perfect. But as soon as we got done with the 60-second takeaway video, all hell broke loose at Halas Hall. Raining sideways and everything was going on.
Yeah, one umbrella for 2 people carrying 2 backpacks with a lot of expensive equipment inside is not an ideal situation for what felt like a monsoon. And as you know, Adam, we have to park pretty far away from Halas Hall. So it was a treacherous little trip, and luckily I don't have to wear pajamas on this show. We're almost to that point, but the shirt I wore dried in the car pretty much, and now we got some shoes in the dryer for later because our tennis shoes just got soaked.
Yeah, I have to say I feel a little bit bad because I think I beat that by 2 minutes maybe. And I don't think me texting you would have made any difference because I think it was already too late. But I still should have texted you and said, hey, it's very dark and black outside because that's what it looked like. And what I drove through was tough enough. So the fact that you walk through that, I'm very impressed. So this is what these guys do to bring you the show. I'm very excited about it. Also noteworthy is the much like Michael Jordan back in 1994, the whiteboard has declared, I'm back.
See that? Everybody who's watching, I know Lawrence is shaking his head behind the scenes right now. Can't get rid of the whiteboard. It finds a way.
Face palm emoji in real life.
It's got the right dates on there too, so we're gonna be better, but it's back for sure.
All right, well, thanks to that's for those of you that are listening on the podcast and only heard that sigh. Just picture Lawrence as the actual facepalm emoji, and that's what the friends on YouTube just witnessed there as we get going here on the CHGO Bears Podcast. Another padded practice today, off day tomorrow for the Bears. Lot to talk about. We'll jump in. And by the way, sorry we were late. It is because of the rain and all that, but appreciate everyone sticking around and through the rain delay. It happens. Best and worst of practice number 7.
Yeah, I'll start it off here from the best thing I saw today. In the team drills, Justin Fields connected with N'Keal Harry over the middle of the field. It's a really nice throw. It was a dart. And N'Keal Harry, who I think has been having better practices the last 2 at least, came down, made the catch, and it was just a good throw by Justin Fields, good catch by Harry, and nice to see it happen in team drills where obviously you have multiple defenders around the area, but N'Keal Harry made a nice catch over the middle of the field from Justin Fields.
I like that one. I know it's going to be in our notebook as well because that's a play that I highlighted in my notes. I'll stick with wide receiver, but I'll talk about Darnell Mooney, and I'll go a little bit earlier in practice with the one-on-ones. And I know those are very advantageous for the offense, for the receivers. However, Darnell Mooney's route running was on full display throughout the majority of that drill. Every time he took a rep, he was getting a verbal reaction from the fans in attendance with his route running, able to full out multiple defensive backs, doesn't matter who's covering him. And it's just real shifty. And it's impressive to watch, honestly, to be as blunt as possible. I'm damn near impressed when I watched Darnell Mooney run those routes. And when he's highlighted and showcasing that one-on-one environment, I think it's on full display and everyone appreciated getting to watch that. So I think that was the best thing I saw today from any Bear.
Yeah, I agree that Darnell Mooney's route running has been on display pretty much in every practice, but especially today. That was definitely one of the highlights. I would say that the best was just seeing a functional offense go down the field and score a touchdown versus the first team defense. And I believe Justin Fields described the touchdown pass to Mooney at the end of that drive as relatively easy. Use the word easy. So now that was a play that they had a rep going. They stalled back in OTAs. They've repped it a lot. So it's just good to see a drive down the field and a score. So that would probably be the best thing. I'll just circle back to the worst. And that was like just the first half of practice offensively before they got to that point. Starting in individuals. Like I jokingly tweeted about Nathan Peterman being on fire. But the other quarterbacks were they throw at this big giant net thing that has 2 squares that catch the ball if you get them in there. Like Fields wasn't even hitting the whole thing. And so like, okay, not a great start. Then they got to one-on-ones. Just a number of plays that didn't get connected. And then I have in my notes from the first team period, this was before they went into like that situational, what was it Eberflus calling it? Like the play it sessions where they just run it like it's actual game and the coordinators actually call the plays. I'm talking about the scripted period earlier. Justin Fields had a pass to Velus Jones Jr. that was dropped by Kyler Gordon, should have been picked off, dropped by Kyler Gordon. And then there was another one to Cole Kmet that was so far behind Cole that it was actually also behind Jaquan Brisker, who was in coverage, and he couldn't catch it. It was so I'm glad it got turned around. I'm glad the offense looked more functional in the second half of practice. But for a while there, especially coming off the heels of yesterday's practice, like that thing was not moving in the right direction.
No, it definitely wasn't. I think Will and I, for our worst thing, it's like a kind of a joint thing here. It was after our video was done, just a rainstorm that we saw, which we didn't know was happening until we got up the stairs, walked up, we're like, oh, you just hear the rain out there. It's going sideways. Like I said, Stacey Dales, Adam Rank were like, you guys are not going to walk through that. So that was easily the worst thing of practice, seeing that, just afterwards. And obviously we made it, but worst thing for me.
We're here. I got one from practice that I'll definitely highlight. It was a rep where it was offense versus defense, and there was some pressure in the pocket for Justin. And I don't know, from our vantage point, we couldn't tell if he got contacted or if he just kind of slipped because he was trying to move away from that pressure, and it was like an awkward kind of slip, and everyone was like watching, ooh, like you don't want to see your starting quarterback make any of those movements that just look a little awkward and a little scary at that. So that's probably the worst thing I saw today, because for a moment I was kind of like holding my breath with everyone else there in attendance, and yeah, you just don't want to see it. So that's why it's automatically the worst thing I saw today.
Yeah. All right. I saw that too, and I was glad he was okay, because it was like his knee just gave out all of a sudden.
Yeah, I don't know if it was like he just stepped up and it buckled or what it was. Like, we didn't ask him about it, in the press room after the fact. But yeah, I think we're all just glad and happy that it was a non-issue. But still, in the moment, it was the worst thing that I think anyone saw.
Yeah, and like 2 plays later, he had a huge scramble that, was like, okay, he's fine. Everything's going to be all right. All right, overreaction of the day. Any of you got one?
I was thinking about this, Adam. This was tough, but you got something, Will?
I was just going to say that, Mr. Joe Thomas is going to end up being a high-end starting linebacker for this team, because, man, he was just all over the field here today. Multiple noteworthy plays, lining up against David Montgomery, coming out of the backfield, staying with him stride for stride, getting a PBU. That was a great play by him. And then afterwards, too, he had another, I think, a big hit in St. Brown that forced that ball out.
Yeah, can we talk about that? I'm still confused about why that wasn't a turnover.
Right. He hit the ball. It was a catch.
Adam Johns and I were talking about this because up in the bleachers, because we were at first I was like, well, that's not exactly a fair play, because he popped them pretty good to the point that like that was a football hit. And by the way, I'm all for that. There's nothing that says you can't do that in these padded practices at this point, but it wasn't a live period. So if you're Equanimeous St. Brown, you're not expecting to just get popped and he does, and so he loses the ball. Now, good learning lesson there. Always hold on to the ball. Expect the worst. Expect that to happen. But like, did they not count that as a turnover because maybe Thomas went a little bit too far with the hit, or were they just like, screw it, we're going to continue the drive? Because my best thing I saw today was that touchdown drive. But if there was actually a turnover on that drive, because that was the same exact drive, then I'm a little confused about what we were actually seeing.
Good point. That's a good point. Yeah, I don't understand exactly what it was either. But to the point of Thomas making plays when and where he needs to, it's 2 days in a row where he was someone I was able to make multiple notes on. So my overreaction is we don't need Roquan Smith. We're good. We have Joe Thomas.
That is a big one. And I wonder too, guys, like what is being said before these practices actually happen in terms of the level of physicality? Because there were some, like, Kendall Vildor had a pretty big hit on N'Keal Harry, and like he just bounced off of it, but there were some hits being delivered. So I wonder what extent they can actually do that. My overreaction actually involves Kendall Vildor. He's going to be your starting outside corner. And I don't know if that's even that big of a reaction based off of where Kyler Gordon's playing, because he's seeing a lot of those reps on the outside. But Kendall Vildor, who I know a lot of fans have mixed feelings about, is going to be the outside corner to start week 1.
Yeah. I don't know if that's an overreaction as much as it's just like not great news. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
That's I'm gonna lean with Adam. I think it's the second point.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Alfredo gets it in the chat.
Yeah, he's looked okay out there, I guess. But
yeah,
I don't know. Man, overreaction for today.
It was tough. It was tough today, guys. Like, it was kind of a mellow practice, and not too much happened.
How about this? Equanimeous. Am I saying that wrong? People keep saying I'm saying it wrong.
Equanimeous.
Equanimeous.
Not unless I get critiqued on how I said it, but I thought that's how you
Equanimeous. I've been saying Equanimeous, I think.
Okay. Hopefully our commenter clarifies.
But this is what camp's all about. Like, we're working through some of the road bumps too, as well covering the team. So I think it's a good time to get it down, and it sounds right to me, at least.
Well, okay. Justin Fields called him EQ. So my overreaction is that EQ will be the Bears' number 2 wide receiver.
Okay.
Again, I don't know that that's a good thing. He had 9 catches last year. But he had a good, the ball that got knocked out was, like I said, he should hold on to that ball. He's been having a pretty good couple days of practice the last couple days. And this is probably just a good segue into what I wanted to talk about, which was my wide receiver rankings, my power rankings, as I put it, in my Bears Things newsletter that went out this morning. If you signed up in time, you should have it in your email box. And if you didn't, you can still access it if you are a member, a CHGO member. You can still get it at allchgo.com. But one of the things in there was my wide receiver power rankings, which seemed like a good way to sort of sort through what's a kind of a wide open wide receiver room after Darnell Mooney. So obviously Darnell Mooney's number 1. Nothing's going to change that. But after that, I put EQ number 2. And first and foremost, I'm just curious what you guys' reaction to that is.
No, based off of what I've seen, I know, Nick, you've been to more practices than I, but, St. Brown has been a consistent player in this offense. And Field said, after the fact today to the media, like when we're in the room, like it's just due to the fact that, EQ has been in this offense for so long, so he knows where he needs to be. He's always in the right spot, and that does help Justin right now as he's still growing in this offense as well as the other receivers. So that head start is what I believe is allowing St. Brown to be that number 2 guy right now, just because he's been so consistent each and every day. I know today was probably his best day, but he still is a player that has surprised me out there. So I think number 2 makes sense right now. The other guys that we'll talk about have haven't flashed as much, or they have, been a little bit more inconsistent than I think St. Brown has.
For me, I think with Byron Pringle, he's probably the one that's in contention for that number 2 spot. But I just know, like, going back to last week, there are some practices where he had a couple of drops, and it carried over to another practice. And yes, he's definitely made some plays. I want to make that known too. But in terms of, like, I guess at recency bias, these last 2 practices, I would have to go St. Brown as of right now, until maybe Pringle shows me a little bit more, becomes more consistent. Then I think that's fair to say. We'll have to see once. Obviously, they're out. The Bears are off tomorrow. They'll continue the practices Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But yeah, I think that's fair.
So, but and I want to be clear. Like, I'm doing this as power rankings, not what the depth chart is or will be. It's not. There's a difference there. So, I think many people are looking at this like, okay, Pringle should be the number 2 wide receiver, probably is the number 2 wide receiver right now. I'm going off of, as we try to sort this, like, who's performing best at this point. And obviously Mooney's number 1. Pringle did have those drops. And that to me has been kind of disappointing. Velus Jones Jr., I have 4th behind Pringle. He's fine. I was hoping for a little bit of a faster start from him, but then Tuesday he made a couple nice plays, so I put him there at number 4. But to me, even before today's practice, because I wrote this yesterday, actually, technically I wrote this before yesterday's practice. I think yesterday's practice just kind of confirmed it. But with St. Brown there, I had already felt at that point like he had been the second best wide receiver I had seen, just in terms of, does he look the part, which he does, and then is he actually lining up in the correct places, which we heard from Justin Fields, and that's going to carry some huge weight when he's making those comments today. Which wide receivers are you gelling with? And St. Brown's name comes out of his mouth right away. Like, he couldn't wait to say that. He's getting that rapport with the quarterback, and that counts for something. So counts for a lot, I think. So I put EQ there at number 2. And I think the last 2 days of practice have only reinforced that. But I am curious, like, beyond that, how you guys would maybe rank your top at least 5 or 6 wide receivers at this point, based on what you've seen.
You want to go ahead, Will?
Yeah, so I'm looking at, I pulled up the newsletter in my inbox, by the way, so I'm looking at your list right now, Adam, and I think your top 4 are correct with, Mooney, St. Brown, Pringle, Jones Jr. Velus shows me more during the one-on-ones than he does right now in 7-on-7 and team drills. Like, when he's one-on-one, he's winning a lot of these battles against some really good, defensive backs, whether it's Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker. Like, I'm seeing Velus make these plays in these one-on-one situations. But when we get to these bigger drills with more players, he's not getting targeted as much as I would like right now and getting those opportunities. And when he does, he's not really capitalizing on them just yet. So that's why he would be number 4. And 5, I think, is a crapshoot right now, depending on who you like. Harry's slightly moving up. And when we get to your rankings, I have a question on Harry for you, Adam, as we kind of move forward. But someone that keeps popping out is, Chris Fink. He's been very, solid throughout. Why is Pettis your number 5? Because he's popped here and there for me, but I don't know if he'd qualify as number 5 for me yet. I love to see it because I've been very high on him since the Bears signed him, but has there been anything specific that kind of moves him to that spot? Because again, I think right now, 5 through 8, very interchangeable, at least in my perspective.
Yeah, well, I totally agree with that, first of all. And to illustrate that point, I think I had Pettis at number 8 until yesterday's practice and changed that because I thought Dante Pettis had a really good day yesterday, and also had a pretty solid day today too, even though this was already out. But to show you how fluid it is after that, I got past Velus Jones and I was like, really, none of these guys have stepped up. And then yesterday, ironically, with all the talk about the offensive struggles, I thought it was one of the wide receivers' best days. Like, they were actually making some plays, making some tough catches. Pettis was among them. Simba Webster had a nice catch and run up the seam from Fields on Monday's practice. Fink's been a little bit more consistent, I feel like, which is he's not going to make any crazy plays for you, but he did have a nice catch today, I think, actually, in one-on-ones over Kyler Gordon on the left sideline.
Yeah.
Then I have N'Keal Harry at number 8. So why don't you ask me that question about Harry you were going to ask?
Yeah, I just want to know. So today he had an okay day. I think it was a rough start for him, but then as Nick mentioned, down the stretch, he did come away with a couple of plays, whether it be the tough contested catch that he had over the middle of the field when he got that big shot from Vildor from behind, or being in the right spot for Justin on that little shovel pass that he did on the run, which also picked up a first down. So when you see those plays, like, you may not be able to quantify this, but like, how many of those plays do you need to see from Harry to kind of move him up into that top 5 category? Because I know it's been a lot of hit or miss, but like, at what point does the hits mean more than maybe a few of the misses that we see in practice? As Justin said, like, Harry is still learning this offense. He's a little behind, even though he's picking up quicker than, he thought he could heading in.
So my concern here, I can totally understand the offense thing. It's interesting that I thought even today he was getting quite a bit of run with the ones, including in that situation that you guys broke down. Here's why I'm not overreacting to that one play that you guys are talking about. It was in traffic. I was actually surprised he caught it based on what we've seen so far. It was like, wow, he finally made not an easy catch. I'd love to see the video again, though, because I didn't feel like that was a ball he had to go up and get. Am I wrong in saying that pass was still...
I think it was chest level.
Yeah, chest level, which let's credit the quarterback. Very accurate throw, put right there on the money, on the move. It was a great throw by Fields. It was in traffic, but it wasn't a go up and get the ball type of play. I have been terribly disappointed in his ability to make any type of catch where he has to adjust his body and do this, really anything. He's not making those plays, even in one-on-ones. So I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt of him arriving here late and anything that has to do with the offense and things like that. But I'm just talking about one-on-one, beat your guy in those drills. I haven't seen those plays made, and I feel like he's gotten more than a handful of opportunities to make one of those plays that the Patriots thought he could make when they drafted him in the first round. So I think it's been a very slow start for N'Keal Harry, in my opinion.
I'd agree with that, Adam. I know yesterday it was, again, one rep in the one-on-ones, but he went over Gordon. It was a high pass, went over him, made the catch in the end zone. And obviously, after Fields missed him initially in the back right corner, came back, caught that. He was wide open again. And you see that pass over the middle. I think for him, he's stacking some days in the right direction, but you would like to see the consistency a little bit better. Being as big as he is, it feels like when he is going to catch a ball, it's almost going to get to his body. And then he makes a catch where it's like, use your frame, use your radius, make the catch, and let's see if you can actually be a consistent weapon for Fields in this offense at some point. But I think for me, like, just to put my 2 cents with the power rankings, I got the first 3 as you guys have it. And then it would be Bayless and Harry for me. And then, David Moore was actually making some plays today. Did you guys see that from Simeon?
Yeah,
A couple, see 18 out there? Like, okay, David Moore making some plays out there. But yeah, the back end of the wide receiver room, I feel like on any given practice, it could fluctuate, just depending on who's actually taking advantage of those reps.
I think the good news for Bears fans listening, though, is the fact that you mentioned, Nick, David Moore had a really good, day-to-day with a few flashes, and Adam mentioned that he had one of those on Tuesday as well. Daz Newsome had a couple flash plays yesterday in front of us in the red zone, making a good catch, diving along the pylon, as well as today in one-on-ones. He had another really good route that had, I think, Stroman on the ground, and from there he's able to come up with a good catch. Same thing with Pettis. And so, like, guys that are, now that the pads are on and we're 2 days in, like, the fact that we can say, like, there are a few receivers now, like, making plays in consecutive practices or flashing a little bit more now as we get into this first preseason game in a little over, a week now. That excites me. Like, the fact that we're starting we can at least point to all these guys and say, hey, they're making the most of their opportunities are flashing a little bit. Obviously, we have a long way to go, but at least it's not like here are 5 guys and everyone else is just silent. At least we're from top down. We can at least point at most of these guys and pick apart a few different plays here and there.
Yeah, we have a comment from Josh that I want to address because he said that's disappointing for N'Keal Harry because in college he did that all the time. I'm assuming if I'm reading that right, he's talking about going up and getting the football. It's one of the more mind-boggling pro careers from college, college to pro transitions that I've honestly ever seen. Because you're absolutely right. I mean, this guy has an unbelievable highlight tape from Arizona State. Like, that's what he did. He made incredible catches all the time. So if you were to tell me that he didn't make it in the NFL because, he didn't pick up NFL offenses or he just started struggling against NFL corners and didn't quite get he wasn't winning he wasn't getting open as much. Maybe his body's changed, which, by the way, I think his body has changed. Doesn't he look big to you? Have you guys noticed that?
Yeah.
And not necessarily in a good way is what I'm saying.
Bayless still described him like he's built like a Greek god. So I don't know if he's just too big to I don't know. But Bayless is like, he's built like a Greek god. Like, dude,
I just don't see him
6'5".
adjusting the footballs in the air like you saw at Arizona State. That's what I'm saying. And that's what's weird to me because you would think that in one-on-one situations in practice, that part would have still translated. I'm telling you, go watch some of his Arizona State highlights. It's like he has stick him on his hands. He just puts the ball. It's like Velcro. The ball just sticks to his hands. And now it's like the complete opposite to me. I don't understand it. Am I being too harsh here? It's very confusing to me.
No, you're not being too harsh. You're absolutely correct. The fact that he's not making the plays that he's built to make, as well as did historically in the past. Like, as I mentioned, he's made some good plays here and there, but the ones that you expect him to go up and get, the ball's in the turf more times than not. So I don't think it's too harsh, and you're just kind of pointing it out as to what it is right now, and we'll see if that changes. But no, you're absolutely spot on.
I think we need to still see with the timing of things. Like, even on a simple fade route where you do use your body to go up and get the ball where it's back shoulder, whatever it may be, it still does come down to timing even in 7-on-7. So I'm curious. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. After getting a day off, maybe can reevaluate, assess how he's done so far. Can he make those adjustments? That's maybe where we'll see what N'Keal Harry's all about. But like I said, I think he's trending in a right direction from how he first started when obviously the Pats weren't on.
All right. A couple people pointing out that it's probably, in between the ears, it seems like a confidence thing. I that's the only way I can really explain it. And you hope that, and I think that's what the Bears are banking on, that maybe it just clicks. Maybe he gets over that somehow. I'd love to see it. I'm not trying to hate on the guy. I'm telling you, he was like one of my favorite guys to watch in college, and it just has not translated to the NFL at this point, which is why it didn't work with the Patriots, why they eventually traded him. And I think we got to talk about something when it comes in regards to evaluating these players and what we're seeing here in a moment. But first, the best way to support CHGO is to download the PointsBet app. Use code CHGO when you sign up, and if you do that right now, you get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. And that's not it. If you make a $50 more first-time deposit, you will receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content, and you'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker. That's $2,000 in free bets, a free CHGO membership, and a free shirt from the CHGO locker, all for making a $50 more first-time deposit at PointsBet. Any questions, email pointsbet@allchgo.com, and we will help you out. Your home for live in-play betting just got even better, because if you see an edge in the game you're watching, or if your favorite team is primed for a comeback, you don't just have to watch the game. You can bet along with it live. Follow your bets the moment they hit. Stay in the live action all game long. Download the PointsBet app right now. Use promo code CHGO. What are you waiting for? It is time to elevate your live betting game. Once the game starts, don't just bet, live your bet life with PointsBet. If you're somebody you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER for crisis counseling and referral services.
Chicago sports fans, your home for the best Chicago sports coverage is partnering with a leader in sports merchandise and collectibles. CHGO has teamed up with FOCO to secure your access to the best collectibles and gear around. Whether it's Bears, Cubs, White Sox, Blackhawks, Bulls, FOCO will have something for you, your kid, a friend, or a loved one. And if you're looking for new gear, especially at Bears training camp, FOCO has officially licensed gear for men, women, kids, with everything from bobbleheads and swimsuits to those Crocs, which wouldn't have been a good day to wear, especially because it rained. But FOCO has got you covered regardless with the best Chicago merchandise around. So you can head on over to FOCO.com or click the link below in our YouTube description. For all non-presale items, use the promo code CHGO for 10% off.
All right, real quick. I feel like we need to address this because it has not been just directed at us. It's been kind of directed at a lot of people watching these practices. Okay. Us telling you things that aren't necessarily great from practice does not mean we're being negative. It means we are just telling you what we're seeing. We are also spending a lot of time each show telling you good things. A lot of that stuff's been on the defense, a lot of things with the rookies. Consistently every single day talking about Jaquan Brisker and Kyler Gordon and Darnell Mooney's route running and all these things. We're trying to tell you both. When some of the not so good things persist, it might come out like the balance is more towards the negative side. Kind of like the Bears record probably will this year, guys. Like unfortunately, the reality of the situation is the football team that we're watching in practice is in a rebuild. And they got a lot of players that need to start playing better. So we're just out there telling you what we're seeing. Today was actually better, I think, for a lot of the offensive stuff. But when, we get asked about a player and that player's not playing well, we're going to tell you that. It's not us being negative. It's just telling you what we're seeing. And trust me, if we had the great fortune of covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now, this show would probably be a lot different vibe on a day-to-day basis. But as we always do, we're going to try to keep it fun and entertaining for you along the way throughout all these days, whether they're good, bad. We always try to do that. So, and occasionally there's going to be a little rant here about a player who's not playing very well. Okay? That's all. All right. What else you guys want to talk about? Want to break down the Bucs? How's Akeem Hicks doing down there in Tampa? I haven't been paying attention.
Yeah, my girlfriend's like, man, that was her favorite player. It's like, I wish, Akeem Hicks was still here. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure a lot of Bears fans do, but hey, he's with Tom Brady now. It's his best chance to get a ring, so I think Bears fans will root for that as well.
I will say, going back to some of the good stuff, because one of the things that started to happen the last couple of days, I think we were joking around about this on this show yesterday, was about because you can read my 5 questions with Cole Kmet if you like in the Bears Things column that came out. That chemistry had been looking really, really good, and then all of a sudden it slumped the last couple of days. But towards the end of practice today, Cole Kmet also made a tough catch over the middle on a well-thrown ball by Justin Fields. And those are the exact type of catches I've been talking about that he needs to get better at. So that was another good thing that I saw in those situations that had kind of been a tough watch at times until today. Like, just again, I go back to the offense, moving the football, getting first downs in what was a real simulated drive where the coordinators on both sides are calling plays as it goes. They're not scripted. That was good to see. And then they were running towards the end of practice 2-minute drills, but before the half, which, by the way, makes more sense. Remember when I questioned the coverage before one of those field goals? I was thinking that was a 4th down situation. I'm sorry, excuse me, a 4th quarter situation where a field goal would win the game. And I was like, why the defense just give them 5 free yards for an easier field goal? Before the half, I get that because you're trying not to give up a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, okay, we can concede 3 points here. We just don't want to give up a touchdown. Made more sense. So,
Yeah, it's all about getting the information, and then we can draw those conclusions and figure out exactly what the heck is happening out there. Sometimes we do our best given the situation, during the actual heat of practice. But no, like you, I was very pleased with what I saw from the offense here later today, because the end of yesterday's practice was so sour. The fact that they were able to kind of bounce back today in team, and on top of that rough start to the practice for most of the positional groups on offense, and to kind of keep their poise, pick it up, and then, like you said, move the ball down the field and put points up on the scoreboard. I think it was good, and it was not just one or two players. Justin is the primary guy behind this, but he was finding Cole Kmet, he was finding other players that were able to get some good gains on the ground too, as well. So, just looking all the way, I thought it was a better outing with some good progress moving forward.
To go back really quick to that Cole Kmet reception over the middle of the field, there were a bunch of defenders in the area, and I thought before that play, like there was a pass that got batted down that was intended for Kmet. I know he slipped on one of the one-on-ones that were happening earlier, so I'm like, all right, when's Cole Kmet gonna make a play? And then that one happens, and he does it in traffic. It has to come back to the football a little bit, something that obviously with his frame, his size, you want to see him doing. So it was a good play for him to kind of have that because, like you said, Adam, since you kind of talked to him, it's kind of been a little up and down for Komet, but that was an encouraging play to see. And there's going to be situations like that in actual games where Fields has to trust Komet. They've obviously worked in the offseason with the chemistry, the timing, and things, and that's a type of throw that if you can rep it now in practice, you're hoping he can make that in game time because it's a tight window and you want to give it to somebody that you trust.
There was one more too play that actually just came to mind. That was a throw from Justin to Darnell Mooney. It was kind of like I'm going to say a bubble screen. I just saw the play. I saw when the catch happened. It was right by the line of scrimmage, and he was able to make one move, get around Eddie Jackson, really just due to his impressive speed and quickness to get, the acceleration to get up to full speed in a hurry. And then downfield, I thought that play was blocked really well, and Darnell wasn't touched for about 30 yards before he was able to get ran out of bounds. I think that was Jaquan Brisker who came in and was able to kind of finally squeeze him out of bounds to end that play. But seeing this Bears offense take a pass that doesn't travel very far, but still be able to come up with a chunk play, something we haven't seen too much of over the last couple of years, I think is another positive sign in the right direction too, that some of these, quick passes to the outside can potentially lead to some bigger things as well, compared to what we've seen at least recently.
One of the topics I wanted to switch to real quick, guys, before we get to, emptying out our notebook and answering some questions. Matt Eberflus said today that he will play his starters against the Chiefs. Based on all the questions about that, I was like, wait a minute. Is that game this week? Did I miss something? I mean, I understood the original question, like trying to find out, his philosophy. We don't get to talk to the head coach every day anymore. But then there were more questions like, well, how long? Like, what are your general philosophy on this? Like, have you called Andy Reid? What are they going to do? I'm like, guys, the game's still a week away. It's all good. But the headline from that was that he will play his starters. It sounds like a significant amount. I've learned to be careful that sometimes that can turn out to be like 2 series, 2 3 and outs. Sometimes like
6 plays.
He said Eberflus said that they haven't narrowed down like exactly how many plays it'll be. So that could still fluctuate. Again, that game's still 10 days away from right now. That game against the Chiefs. But I do like the fact he's going to play his starters. He seems to understand that they need it. They need to play. Justin Fields needs the game reps. So what was your reaction to Matt Eberflus revealing that he will play the first teamers? And he said everybody. I don't know if he literally means that. Like, I'm probably not going to play Robert Quinn. Somebody like that. I'd honestly be a little bit careful even with like a David Montgomery. Maybe only limit him to 1 series, something like that. But the quarterback, the wide receivers, they need to play. I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. And I think this is also a great opportunity for Luke Getsy to, get the calls in to Justin Fields, which he said will be a part of those first teamers that will play. Again, how much we don't know, but that's what I think you need to get that at least for a series or 2 against the Chiefs. Like where's Luke Getz even going to be? If he's going to be on the sidelines, he's going to be up in the box, whatever it may be. But it's now against another team and not Bears on Bears, but Bears versus Chiefs. And yeah, I'm all for that. I think we've seen some mixed results in these practices. It's time to see what you can potentially do early on in the season against another opponent. So all for it. And I think honestly, this offense can use some competition and see what they can work out, some of those kinks, whatever it may be, from the play calling standpoint to actually executing. But I think it's a good call that a majority of the offense should be playing in the preseason game.
I would have been very confused if his answer was anything other than what he told us here today. Like, how many starters outside of Fields, Mooney, Montgomery, Komet, and Whitehair do you really have on this offense right now? Like, you're still working through so much. They're working through all these receivers. They're shuffling around this offensive line each and every day, swapping guys in and out with the first string as well. There's just so many unknowns. And there's only 3 preseason games now. Like, if he wasn't playing his starters, I think that would warrant a much bigger discussion. But the fact of the matter is, like, this is still a complete work in progress. This is a very young football team still trying to find its way, its own identity, new coaching staff trying to figure out the best players to not just start, but also put on this final roster. And they have a lot of questions that need answering, and they're going to have to take every rep possible. And that includes preseason games. So I'm very excited to see what these starters can do in a game environment, whether or not Andy Reid plays his for only a series or, a series or 2, and the Bears keep theirs out a little bit longer. It doesn't matter. It's still good live game reps, and it should help them. Again, even though they say starters, I'm assuming you're going to see multiple receivers come in. Who knows if they'll put like half of an offensive line, together just to see some other guys in starting reps. So we'll see. But whatever it is, it's the experience needed for this coaching staff right now as they continue these evaluations.
No doubt about it. Well, before we get to the final portion of our show, you guys, I got to tell you about Owen, which stands for Only What You Need. This brand is a 100% plant-based protein company that gives you high quality and carefully selected ingredients to keep you functioning throughout your entire workday and especially after an intense workout. In these protein shakes, you get your vegan omega-3s, your green superfoods like broccoli, kale, and spinach, and all these amazing ingredients just reinforce what Owen stands for. Only What You Need. We first heard about Owen from Justin Fields, who does follow a plant-based diet. Got to check out the Pro Elite Chocolate Shake, easily my favorite. And what's cool is that CHGO and Owen have partnered up to give you an awesome offer. When you use the code CHGO20, you get 20% off your first purchase at liveowen.com. Again, that is 20% off with the code CHGO20 at liveowen.com. Join us here at CHGO, Justin Fields, and try Owen, Only What You Need.
Real quick, if you're listening to this podcast and you haven't joined the CHGO family yet, I really encourage you to consider doing that here today. There's a lot of great benefits by becoming a member. You unlock all of our premium written content on our website. You get discounts to our merchandise. By the way, if you sign up for an annual membership, you get a free t-shirt. And I think Adam in his newsletter today said doing that, the shirt's worth it itself because like our shirts are well designed. They're super soft.
Nice.
Yeah, there's my favorite one right there. Skyline. It's beautiful. You can check that out at the CHGO locker. But on top of that, like I said, and there's a lot of great reasons to join this community that we're building. I know we just launched this thing in March, but I'm really proud of the community that is currently being built here at CHGO of big, passionate sports fans just like you. And whether it's Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Sox, Cubs, Red Stars, Fire, you name it. There's a channel inside of our Discord. It's an app that we use to kind of communicate to our listeners as well as our viewers here on YouTube and the readers and just people who are part of the CHGO family. And it's just a great way to talk with like-minded fans like us, like yourself. And yeah, I think definitely go to allchgo.com. Become a member today. It's cheaper than Netflix per month, and you get to support local journalists like us so we can continue covering our teams. And I love covering the Bears full time now, and definitely join us to keep our dreams moving forward.
All right. Let's see what else we have in our notebooks today, guys. Before we get to some questions, we started a little bit late today because of that rainstorm you guys had to run through. I'm looking out my window right now. It looks sunny. So I don't know
Illinois,
what you guys,
baby.
I don't know what you guys staged, to
Yeah.
to try to create out there because you knew you were going to be late. But yeah, no. All right. I had, let's see, a lot of the stuff we've already talked about. Oh, random player I don't think we've talked about.
Wait, hold on.
What?
It's always sunny outside your house because you're just such a positive guy.
Thank you.
Aww.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was very nice.
Wait, are we playing bear, not a bear?
This actually could have been. I think we probably know he's a bear. Have you guys heard of Ricin John? Ricin John? You guys know how to say his name? Even?
What number?
Seriously, this one would have got me, I think.
87.
87. Oh, the tight end.
He's that big ass tight end they have. He's 6'7", 220.
Yes.
Played at something called Simon Fraser.
He was with the Giants for a little bit, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's
before
actually
he
been
got
in the
let
league.
go. Mhm.
He's a third-year NFL veteran. Very big dude, hard to miss. Made a really nice catch today in one-on-ones. That's why I noted the 87 in my notebook. So I want to make sure I brought that up.
There you go. I have Kairos Tonga in the backfield a couple times in my notes here, and
Yeah,
it's a guy that maybe doesn't, I don't know, get a lot of publicity, but hey, I think he's making some plays here in this training camp. I definitely noticed big number 95 today.
Yeah, I mean, for him making this position switch, we've talked about it. We need to see him in the backfield this camp making those plays. And today, I thought he did have a decent, a couple amount of plays against the run. I know they're not pure live reps, but I swear Tonga would have made that tackle if it was. He's in the right spot, and that's half the battle. He'll have to finish once they go through live reps. But him being in the right position was a very encouraging sign for me. Sticking with the defense during individual drills, I was kind of watching the defensive ends, Al-Quadin Muhammad, Robert Quinn, Dominique Robinson. Like, it was just, there's so many like good reps from them in terms of like being fast and fluid and punching those dummies and like watching him hit the turf. But Muhammad was very impressive during that. But I thought Dominique Robinson, just his speed was evident in the bend to get around a corner for a player that's still a little raw at the position, but that athleticism was on full display. And I do want to note that Duke Shelley did not practice today. We did see him out there in a bucket hat and on the sideline. So he didn't participate in today's practice as well. So people should know that. Outside of that, Doug Kramer, Sam Mustipher splitting reps at center today with the first team. I'm sure people like to hear that. And outside of that, I think all my notes I actually did discuss as well.
Yeah. All right, Lawrence, let's jump into
okay.
It's been an interesting day in the comments, hasn't it? You've had to sort through it.
It's been wild.
Yeah.
We've been a lot
people
of
people not understanding that this is a bit now, or mad that we don't know the roster.
Yeah.
It's a fun game, guys. We're just having fun here.
Everyone's saying how everyone in the Bears beat is this guy's the most negative. No, this guy is. So you're being negative about the Bears beat writers. Cool.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's see what we got here. Let's see. Who do we want to? John Johnson. This was earlier. I want to know how Braxton Jones did. We didn't get much offensive line talk today.
Good point. I think that's probably a good thing. I didn't notice any like full on. Although you know what, there were some plays that probably would have been sacks.
Less penalties though today overall, like false starts, pre-snap penalties. So they fixed that up today, and Eberflus actually mentioned that in the presser. But yeah, there were still some sacks that would have been had this been a game-like scenario.
I find it very interesting that he's gotten pretty much all the left tackle reps with the first team the last couple days. Riley Reif's been emerging more. In fact, did he even rotate with Larry Borum today?
I don't think so.
I saw a tweet from Kevin Fishbane, and Kevin said he saw it, but personally, every time I was watching the offensive line for first string, I saw 75 at right tackle.
You saw 75, not 78.
Right. I saw Borum playing right tackle first team all day long. I didn't see 78, which is Reif, get thrust up in there at all. But
then it must have been a rotation then, because I did see 78 and was thinking that 75's reps had actually gone down.
Okay, so it's just a matter of when we're looking, I guess.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, you can't. There is not enough time to mark down on every single play. Who's all 22 players? That is impossible. So it must have still been a rotation. The point there being the question was about Braxton Jones. I find it very interesting that he has just been. You're the first team left tackle the last couple of days, so that's just like a pre-planned stretch that they're going to do here to get Riley Reef reps on both sides, or did he actually do something to earn it? I think we'll find that out then after the off day this weekend, tracking, hey, did that change? Did they keep it the same? But at this point, like, I don't know how else you look at Braxton Jones other than a serious competitor at left tackle, and I can't wait to see these preseason games to see how he does.
Yeah, no, same here. You know, Matty Eberflus speaking about tackles. He did comment on Tevin Jenkins today. Apparently, he's in the building. You guys, right? Working with those trainers. Definitely not on the practice field, but apparently Tevin Jenkins is in the building, working with those trainers.
100% injury related, according to the head coach.
Yeah. That was one where his words and I don't know, just like the tone of his voice didn't add up either.
Ooh, well, that brings us to this one. Joe Calandriello, I believe is how we say that. Whatever. Out of curiosity, what would happen if you called these coaches out for their BS responses? I know y'all hate the coach speak and secrecy as much as we do. Thanks, boys.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's always a give and take. You know, I mean, if you're asking to like get into a verbal altercation with the guy, that's probably not going to happen. That's probably not going to help anything. It's probably not going to help get more honest answers. Look, I think we're all feeling out the new coach, and it's a tough. With this Roquan thing and the Tevin Jenkins thing, I think they could be seeing a little bit more to help the situation out, but I don't think that that's their stance right now, especially when it comes to Tevin Jenkins. Like, I don't think they want to do him any more favors. So that's what it is. I don't know. I don't know what else to say about it.
Yeah.
Nothing to say.
Right. So yes, we can't. It's just tough to yell at the coaches in front of them because it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Okay. How about Nino's Adam here? He was saying, I keep hearing Flus practices are way more grueling than Nagy's, but we're not given examples of why or how. Can you guys inform us on the differences? He also asked another question like what's the difference between where the Bears were in 2021 at this point versus now? Sort of like give us a ranking of the two.
I think honestly it's like tempo, you guys. The speed of which certain drills are happening, and then the limited amount of time to get to the next drill. Like, there is a sense of urgency, I would say. So that's why when we're kind of writing down notes on some of these plays and things are happening, it's like, yeah, you could get a couple of plays within I don't know, even a minute window of like, here's one rep, here's another rep. So I just feel like with Eberflus, there is a sense of urgency. Players know that they have to be on top of things. Eberflus is staring down some of the defensive guys when they're in drills, like calling some of the guys out. So I think that's been pretty apparent so far throughout this training camp.
Yeah. Not a lot of breaks or really any breaks at all. Like I can go back to like in my mind, like Trestman, Levy Smith, even like in those days where they'd stand around drinking Gatorade for 5-minute breaks, in the middle of practice. And with Coach Eberflus, like you don't see that. The only time someone's standing around is when they're doing full 11 on 11, like the situations that we saw today, and they had the offense on one sideline and the defense on the other sideline to simulate that game situation. But outside of that, every player is moving at all times. And like Nick said, the intensity that they are being asked to do, to adhere to in these reps, it's a little bit more than we've seen in the past.
Well, and they're being graded on it constantly, and they're being called out in meetings when they're loafing. To me, like the simplest way to explain how it's different is Matt Nagy would talk a lot about how intense it was going to be and how much they needed to callous each other. And then in practice, you didn't really see it. Now, I still am curious to see if this gets a little bit more physical, maybe more live periods. But remember, this is the same coaching staff that already got dinged for being a little too physical in the OTA period. So I think that in practice, they have actually practiced what they've talked about, which is a big difference. And you just see it in little things like running from drill to drill, rep over, running back to the line of scrimmage, and that stuff is all measured and graded. So they're being held accountable on it. And I think it's paying off so far.
All right. Let's get to a couple of guys that like personal or names here. So let's start with this A. Heldebrand, who said, do you think Ebner or Evans makes the team at running back number 3?
I think Ebner does for sure. And he had a nice play with the twos today where he caught the ball. Would you call that a swing? I didn't really see it until he caught the ball, so I didn't see the full route. But all of a sudden, he was wide open on the left side of the field with nothing but green grass. And, that speed was on display. I was like, whoa, he is fast.
Yeah.
Dave Montgomery talked about it, too. Yeah, the speed, just like Ebner's got that extra gear, and, it's noticeable in that running back room.
Yeah, and more times than not, when the third team's taking those reps, I feel like I'm seeing it Ebner taking more of them than Evans right now, and Ebner is the one that keeps flashing more than Evans. So as of today, I'm going to go with the rookie.
Right. How about Odin's Eye here, who asked, any word on Blasingame? Fullback actually get handoffs or touches?
So I didn't see any today, like in terms of like touches, but there was a couple of plays when the Bears were doing a lot of misdirection in terms of everyone was going one way, quarterback would kind of fake over to the other direction, and there was a free rusher coming at, I think this is Trevor Simeon, and he was Blasingame gotten right at the position, got a good block on that linebacker, and allowed that play to extend and make the completion. So I know Nick, you've seen other plays at camp from him as well in terms of like being a playmaker of the ball in his hands, but in terms of being an extra pass blocker and allowing the play to succeed, I did see that out of him today.
Yeah, and I mean, yesterday he scored the touchdown on just that. It was like a short pass in that goal line situation. So yeah, the fullback he's been used.
All right. How about this one from Darius Morgan? So does Kramer have a legit shot at backup center behind Patrick?
Again, it's like the Braxton Jones thing. Based on the reps we're seeing, yes. I mean, he's still with Lucas Patrick out. He's been getting reps, and it looked like he was rotating with Sam Mustipher again today at center. It's a little bit surprising to me, but good for him. Like, he's obviously doing something they like. And he's still out there every single day getting those reps. So it's like with Braxton Jones, until they look like they've been demoted, absolutely, I think he has a shot now. And depending on how long Patrick's out, that's a very, very interesting situation.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Lucas Patrick, he was at practice. He was just kind of near like where they had the bikes, watching. You can see that his hand was wrapped. He had the
Was it wrapped better or worse than yours?
Probably better. It's more full. I went with the little wrap on the wrist there. But he was there. Lucas Patrick surveying, especially the team drills. He was just kind of watching over.
All right. Not so much a question, but I like this from Leap of Faith. He says, Equa, what's your name-ius? That's good.
I think it is a question.
I think so.
Sure, that's kind of a question. And then this one is definitely for Nick, some from Randy. Anything new on the 3-tech? Anyone stepping up as a solid second behind Jones?
Our 3-tech beat reporter.
Yeah, apparently. 98, Mekhi Treadway. I think I put 98 in there. He had a nice batted down pass to the line of scrimmage. Kind of just being some. Again, I wasn't expecting to see Treadway even in my notes, but 98 has showed up here and there. So maybe keep an eye on him. But other than that, not too much on the 3-tech. I'm just waiting for you guys still, Mario Edwards, to do something. I'm waiting for it.
You're talking about starting a fight.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's what I'm waiting for. Yep. So maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
I'll say the coaching staff, when they talk to us, and I've heard it from a few Bears too, mentioning that they really are placing an emphasis of like not getting to that level of altercation because it's bear on bear and it's a whole team. And I appreciate it. We'll see if training camps, they get heated. But with Mario Edwards, we've talked about it. He has to kind of cut that out if we want him to be a better player on this team, because he's always had issues containing that anger in games and getting those personal foul calls on him and just playing a little bit too loosey-goosey at times. So if they can rein him in, and it's evident because he doesn't get into that little scuffle at camp, maybe that's a good thing. But we'll see. It's still early. It's still very early.
Will went full Joey Gladstone on us there. Cut it out.
Yeah.
don't know,
I was
Dave.
trying to figure out the
Yeah.
exact reference to it. I watched Full House, but I was very young.
Yeah.
Hey man, that's fine with me. All right, this one's from Cubs 2527, who is trying to call me a coward for not wanting to put this on the screen. He says, "Did Ryan Poles fail Justin Fields with his decision to not invest in the offense this free agency period?"
It's too early to tell. You can't.
Yeah,
I mean,
Here's the thing. There's only so many reps you can have in practice, and I understand the thinking of let's clear the books for the future and give a bunch of young players an opportunity in these practices to emerge and show us something. I say that with the expectation that wherever that doesn't work, whether it's on the offensive line or in the wide receiver room or perhaps even at linebacker or something, opposite of Roquan Smith, wherever that is, they'll make moves. You'll see waiver wire moves. You might see another trade or something like that, like bringing in like they did with N'Keal Harry, which may or may not work. So when you say to not invest in the offense, I think you're talking about like a big move, a big contract that sits there for a while. I think that'll ultimately decide it. The answer to your question will come in the regular season. Because if it all backfires and nobody emerges and you can't find somebody else and Justin's just running for his life constantly, then that could be a situation where you say he failed. I also don't think it is unreasonable to expect a true franchise quarterback to elevate the players around and to make those plays anyway. So I think that's part of the calculus here for Ryan Poles too. They're testing Justin Fields to a certain extent and hoping that he elevates all these guys around him. And that's still in play as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
All right, y'all. Let's get it out of here with this from Visadin Highwind, who says Rodgers is here because he is a hands-on owner. Okay, I get that. That's funny. And Dan Payton points out that Jose Abreu just hit a 3-run bomb, socks up 4-zip in the bottom of the third. So Hoge,
Nice.
you can be positive about that. And
I can be positive. Well, did the fireworks at least wake up Tony in the dugout then?
What a loser.
Jeez.
My God. I mean,
funny.
I can't say all the things I want to say about that guy. But anyways.
Well, you can actually.
Yeah, F him. I mean, seriously, fire that guy. It's the worst. What a joke. I mean, Giolito said something last night. I saw Merkin's tweet about how, this is the type of game where we get our swagger back. You're a 52-51 team that just beat the frickin' Royals. Like, really? That's the game that's going to get your swagger back?
No, those games
Settle
have
down.
come and gone like 10 times now.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for sticking with us at the start of the pod. I know we were a little late. Nick and Will are safe and dry and with us. We're back in studio tomorrow. How about that?
Wait, what? I have to go to the office to see you guys tomorrow?
Yes.
Oh, my
I'm
gosh.
sorry.
Mm.
I'm sorry. Bears are off. We are not. We will have a show for you tomorrow, 2:00. We'll be right back here. Plenty more to talk about. Please follow us on Twitter. Subscribe, like the pod, hit that like button. We appreciate all the support from everybody. Thanks to new members who have signed up in the last not only few days, but also the last couple of weeks since training camp started. We're going to keep going strong with our training camp coverage, tell you the good plays, tell you the bad plays, and have fun along the way. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Peace out, y'all. Have a good one.